Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And today we're going to do Hot Topics versus Girl Chat. Because I've noticed that Wendy Williams and The Real basically cover the same thing when they first start their show out. So I'm just going to take that information and create this video. But before we get started, I was watching Wendy today. Now y'all know Wendy was embroiled in all that controversy last week because of the little slip of the tongue that she made about the Clark sisters, where she was talking about Snoop Dogg's gospel album was at #1, I guess, at the gospel charts, and she was asking if the Clark sisters had ever been at #1, and then she made the comment, well, they need to step up their game. So that created like this whole issue with the gospel community being outraged and offended, and so everybody, I think everybody except for Mary, Tina and Erica, I think they were the only ones that didn't come for Wendy for making that comment, and they may have later on made a statement. I just didn't see it. But basically everybody was outraged that Wendy had disrespected the Clark sisters. So in return, Wendy did this half-hearted video saying that she apologized. Well, actually, I'll drop the video here and you can hear what Wendy said herself.
Well, you know, apparently you all are mad with me, or some of you, about some comments or the intent that I had when I was doing Hot Topics the other day, and I mentioned the Clark sisters. And I didn't mean anything bad about the Clark sisters. I interviewed the Clarks. Well, okay, no, I didn't. My friend Mark Clark, actually, we were in college, and he worked at the gospel station, and I went to the station with him, and I met them all. I like the Clark sisters. Sing it with me. You made my day. I can't sing too much, otherwise I'll have to pay for it. This is what I'm gonna do. Pack up some pretty dresses and come to New York. We'll make all the arrangements. Can you do that song on our show? Can I get a witness to Jesus? We will provide the tambourines. It's gonna be a straight up party. How you doing?
So why today did Wendy start the week off with some more mess? So she was doing a story about Shania Twain, and she was saying that she was asking Suzanne that she liked Shania. Suzanne said that she really wasn't a fan. And so then Wendy proceeds to tell this story about, I don't even know why she was talking about Shania Twain. Was it to talk about her being a Trump supporter or something? But anyway, she starts off the story saying that Shania Twain had been through a lot in her life, and that her husband had an affair with her best friend, and then they ended up getting a divorce, and now the husband is with the best friend. And then she started alluding to the fact that now Shania Twain is with the best friend's man, so whoever the best friend was with when she had this affair, now that guy is with Shania Twain. So there was a lady in the audience, I guess, that made a comment or looked like she understood. Maybe she was nodding her head like, yeah, girl, I heard about that. When all of a sudden Wendy says, yeah, you Blackie. Yeah, Blackie. I was like, did she just say Blackie? Who is she talking to? So then the camera goes to the person that Wendy was talking to, and it was a black woman. I'm assuming there was a woman, because you know with Wendy show, I never know if these people be men, women, trans, what's going on. But anyway, she appeared to be a black woman, and she was a dark-skinned black woman. And I was like, okay, so nobody else in this audience heard Wendy yell out Blackie in reference to this lady. And then the lady was like she didn't know what to do, so she went along with Wendy and the conversation. And then I thought Wendy would have came back at the end of the show and apologized for what she said, but she never came back and apologized. And so I said, well, maybe it was just me. So then I went to social media, and sure enough, there were other people saying that they had heard Wendy yell out Blackie in reference to this woman. And so, Wendy, I don't know if it's your medication, if you just desperate for views, maybe your viewership is down. I don't know what is going on with you, girl, but you are about to you're about to cross a line that you ain't going to be able to come back from. So you really need to watch yourself. And Wendy's staff, y'all need to check y'all girl. And when she wrong. Because that was so out of line. I think that was worse than when she talked about the HBCUs and she talked about the Clark sisters last week. I think that this was far worse than any of those faux pas that she made. But Wendy, you owe that woman an apology. And you owe her, I don't know, you owe her something else. I don't know if she get like free tickets to the show, like she get reserved seating whenever she wanted or whatever, but you owe that lady an apology. So what was at the top of the blogs on both the Real and the Wendy Williams show, aside from calling people out their name, was they both started out talking about Kate Middleton and, you know, having her baby. And then Wendy went off on a tangent about having elective C-sections and how it's better to have a C-section and then you can do a tummy tuck afterwards than it is to be trying to push a baby through your vagina, and how she wanted to have a C-section, but her doctor told her no, that, you know, you weren't allowed to do elective C-sections and that you really want to have your baby naturally. And then over on the Real, when they were talking about it, Lonnie was so excited, had her little teacup, thought this was the greatest thing about, you know, the woman having the baby, but her co-host wasn't all that in tune to what was going on. So tomorrow, you know, she gave the history lesson on how one becomes a heir to the throne. And so I guess this new baby is fifth in line. And there used to be a time that if there was a girl baby, that all the boy babies jumped over the girl baby in line, but now they've changed the rules. So the baby Charlotte is still fourth in line, and the current queen has been in, I think she's like 100 years old. So she done been in office she been running the country forever. So I don't know if any of these 5 people will ever get their place on the throne the way this woman going on. Because she seems to be quite healthy and like she ain't giving up the throne no time soon. And so then Jeannie was like, who cares? Like, they all rich. That's all that matters. They rich. They do what they want to, go where they want to, buy what they want to. Who cares who's next in line to be on the throne? Next up, they talked about Beyonce's second performance at Coachella, because I guess you have to perform both weekends. And so Wendy, you know, pointed out that Beyonce, they pretty much did the same performance as she did last week, but she had the same outfits on, but they were different colors and different little changes. So not exactly the same outfits, but very close to the outfits that she had on the week before. And then she talked about how when Solange and Beyonce, you know, did their performance, because if you saw it the first week, you know that they had like a little performance that they did. Well, Beyonce tried to pick up Solange and she failed. So, but being the consummate professionals that they are, they rolled over on their backs and then started kicking their legs up in the air and jumped up off the ground. Then Solange sashayed on off the stage. I was like, Lord have mercy. And then Wendy pointed out that Beyonce had to go over because the technicians weren't paying any attention. And y'all know Beyonce be having them fans around the stage to be blowing her hair in the wind and everything. And so the technicians weren't paying attention. So Beyonce had to go over and adjust her own fan. And then once she came over and turned the fan, then that's when the guys want to run over and act like, oh, they were all concerned and was going to help her out. But she had already turned that fan on herself. So over at The Real, they talked about how, and I've seen the video out on social media where Jay-Z is talking to Cardi B, and they're saying like he blessed her baby. It was so interesting that when he went to put his hand on Cardi B's stomach, he kind of like pulled back real quick, like he was thinking about all this Me Too nonsense and like, okay, they'll be saying that I was touching her inappropriate and I shouldn't have been rubbing on her belly and everything, because he like touched her and it was like it was hot, and he moved his hand back. They talked about, you know, the fall and was saying that the rebound was all that. And then Lonnie asked the audience if Beyonce topped herself from the previous week, but it was like dead silent. Like, you know, it wasn't aired because the first weekend it was aired on YouTube, it was live streamed on YouTube, but the second weekend they didn't live stream it. So a lot of people didn't see it, and so then the audience was just really quiet, like they didn't care one way or the other. So then, you know, she talked about it a little bit more to kind of, you know, get the crowd in tune. So I don't know if they kind of was like the producers was telling the audience to clap the second time around, or if they really, you know, was supporting what Lonnie was saying. So Jeannie says that she wasn't checking for week 2 of Coachella because she had other things to do, and that of all the outfit changes, you know, even though Beyonce switched it up a little bit, Jay-Z came out with the same clothes on that he had on last week. Adrian says that it was the same songs, just different outfits. And I think, Lonnie, you may be the only member of the Beehive up there on the real desk. I don't even think the members of the audience are Beehive fans. They didn't care. So then Wendy talked about Cynthia and Nick Cannon and a photo shoot that they did, because it's going to be, I think, for the CD cover of a new CD release that Nick Cannon has coming out. But Nick Cannon, with his crazy self, he is kind of fine, you know. But Wendy pointed out that, you know, he goofy as all get out. But there was some nice pictures, and, you know, she insinuated that Cynthia probably should go ahead and get her groove on and give Nick, you know, let Nick hit it one time. And I don't know why Wendy is always trying to promote promiscuity and always telling people they need to be going out here sleeping with all these different people. Like, girl, stop. Then she went on to Carrie Underwood, you know, talking about how Carrie Underwood needs to stop talking about her fall. And remember, you know, Carrie Underwood is the country music singer, and she was walking her dogs, and the dogs took off, and they drug her, and she has like a cut, I guess, going across here. And she keeps talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. But now that she's healed from the surgery, nobody can really see a scar. Her face isn't disfigured. How she was saying, you know, she was concerned that her fans weren't going to recognize her. And so Wendy was basically saying, girl, let it go. It ain't that serious. So then she talked about how she hates the fight. Well, she watched the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion, and that she really likes the Real Housewives of Potomac. But they have this new show coming on, which is Southern Charm New Orleans, which I love, and I will be recapping that show. And she was saying that she really likes the show, that she's fallen in love with it too. And so she was asking her audience, like, were they watching the show? And I think 2 people clapped. And then she asked them, did they like Real Housewives of Potomac? And I think 5 people clapped. So I don't know how these shows are going to do. I really think that Southern Charm New Orleans is going to pick up, because it was just their 2nd episode last night, and it's just bringing me all the crazy I love from the original Southern Charm show, which is filmed in Savannah. Not Savannah. Savannah is the 2nd franchise. The original is filmed in Charleston, South Carolina. All of that led up to her talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. And Wendy kind of agreed with me that the whole dragging of Kim, although it was funny, it was so unnecessary, and it was draining, and just the negativity is becoming too much. And then she showed a couple of clips of, you know, all of that led up to her talking about the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. And Wendy kind of agreed with me that the whole dragging of Kim, although it was funny, it was so unnecessary, and it was draining, and just the negativity is becoming too much. And she basically like went and got the hottest things that each cast member said, you know, went around the couch and showed that. But her audience, you know, they were laughing and everything, but I'm thinking that that franchise is really losing its way. So then she talked about the Shania Twain, you know, where she called the woman the Blackie. And she went on to Sinead O'Connor, and Sinead O'Connor says that Prince wasn't a very nice man, and said that he was physically abusive to a number of women, and that he beat some of them to the point where they had to be hospitalized, and that he beat her. I was like, I'm finding this very hard to believe, and I'm not going to let you talk about Prince like that. Prince been gone for 2 years. Now they coming out saying that he was taking one drug thinking it was another drug, and that's how he ended up ODing, but they ain't gonna bring no charges against anybody. I'm just like, well, y'all let Prince rest in peace, because what you're not gonna do is tarnish Prince's reputation now that he's dead and gone. So the next story after Coachella that The Real covered was about Khloe Kardashian and how she's mad at the Instagram model who was one of the women that cheated with Tristan while she was going into labor. And they were saying that Lala Anthony is producing a show that's going to be called Gold Diggers. When they said it, I was thinking G-O-L-D, diggers, but it's gold, G-O-A-L, as in people that have goals. And so the premise of the show is that she's going to take these women, like this girl who was caught on video with Tristan, who they're becoming famous because of doing stuff like that, but they actually have brands, and they actually, you know, have products, they have talents, they have skills, things that they're trying to promote, and that's how they become famous on Instagram and social media. And so she wants to give them a platform where they can promote their products, promote what it is that they're trying to sell, and so kind of like take them away from the negative aspect of how they got in the industry and move them along to the positive part. And so they got into a discussion which I thought was really interesting. So Jeannie, you know, she was saying that she doesn't think that the girl should be rewarded for cheating with Tristan. And I was sitting there saying to myself, but then Khloe, isn't that how Khloe met him? Like, he was with another woman who was pregnant by him, and then he started seeing Khloe and was out running around with Khloe while the other woman was about to have the baby. And then Adrian says that she doesn't think that the woman should be rewarded for something negative, that women in general shouldn't be rewarded for something negative. And then Lonnie says that she thinks that people will watch because, like, that's how these women become popular on Instagram, because people are following them for the stuff that they're doing. And then Adrian, you know, she's saying that society, you know, is rewarding bad behavior, and what example is this setting for young girls? And now you're going to have teenagers out there who are going to be going out doing all this stupid stuff, you know, to become famous. And I was sitting there saying, oh, and then Tamara was like, you know, we have to be careful who we're making into role models. But I was really confused because they started the conversation of talking about Khloe Kardashian. But isn't that how the Kardashians became famous? By sleeping with celebrities? And that's how their brand got started. Then this whole thing start with the sex tape between Kim and Ray J. So how can they sit there and say, oh, we shouldn't reward this, and what is it going to do to young girls, when we got these fools sitting up there, multi-millionaires, might be close to billionaires now, off of nonsense and foolish, and that's how they're promoting their brands. That's how they're making their millions of dollars, by doing the same thing. So how are you going to say that somebody else can't capitalize that way when the world is promoting the Kardashians and that's all that they do? And so, you know, Lonnie was basically saying that she just doesn't like women being pitted against each other. Then they talked about Colin Kaepernick, and he received an award from Amnesty International. And I meant to look up the full name of the award, but its previous recipients were Nelson Mandela, and went on to become the president of South Africa, and also Malala Yousafzai. I'm sure I'm pronouncing her last name wrong, but she was the Pakistani girl who was shot, and she was like campaigning for girls' rights and the right for girls to have education over in Pakistan. And she was shot by the Taliban, but she ended up surviving, and I think she went on to win a Nobel Peace Prize. So the award that Colin Kaepernick won was pretty impressive, and he's in good company. And in his acceptance speech, you know, he was talking about the police. So that was the headline of all the news stories, is that he said that today's police is just modern day lynching, instead of them leading off saying that he had won this award. So then they went on to Tiffany Haddish. So Tiffany Haddish, I guess, is on the cover of Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People. And then she's on the cover of another magazine called W, or is it Women's Magazine? Maybe they rebranded. And they talked about how Tiffany says that Jada Pinkett had gotten on her when they were filming the movie Girls Trip, that Jada was saying that she was sick and tired of seeing her wearing knockoff or carrying these knockoff handbags. And so Tiffany's response to Jada was that, you know, she doesn't mind wearing knockoff handbags because she doesn't think that you should be carrying around a handbag that costs more than the amount of money that's in it. So she would rather spend $300 or $30 on a handbag and have $3,000 inside that handbag than to spend $3,000 on a handbag and only have $30 inside the handbag. So Lonnie says that she doesn't spend money on designer bags. That's just a waste of resources because there's other things she could be spending her money on. Jeannie says that she doesn't support knockoffs because of trafficking and that they are so cheaply made. And Adrian says that she doesn't buy knockoffs, but she will buy a cute, inexpensive bag. So she was basically saying, don't buy, you know, the handbags that is supposed to be Louis Vuitton, and then they'll have like LXV instead of LV, you know, that type of thing. But she says that, you know, she'll spend $20 or $30 like in a regular store, and if she sees a cute purse. And then Tamara says that she's just frugal with her money, and that ain't the kind of stuff she's going to be spending her money on. But the ladies on the show talked her into buying a Chanel bag when they were in Paris for Adrian's wedding, and she said that she was so skeptical, but then the lady in the store was telling her, oh, well, you can pass it down, you know, to your daughter. And so they, you know, made her feel good about spending that kind of money. She said, well, she ain't gonna never do it again. Then they talked about the fact that they have been nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award and that the award show is Sunday night. And then they had on the show Escape 3, so which is Escape minus Candy, and they turned the E around to look like a number 3. But then when Candy's performing with them, they're going to be Escape. I don't understand. I don't understand. I guess maybe that was the way that Candy doesn't get money from them being on tour or any new music that they make, maybe. But they said that they worked too hard for the name to change it all together, so that's why they came up with that concept. They're going to be headlining at Essence this summer, and that Candy will be performing with them. And then they talked about how social media has really changed the game. And I think the one, is her name Tamika? No, Tiny is Tamika. Anyway, one of the girls was saying how she fell when they were on stage, and then when they were on their tour bus, they found out that it had been captured, and TMZ was reporting about it. And so, you know, basically, like if you missed a note or messed up before, there, you know, just the people at the concert knew about it. But now with social media, you know, people are recording and stuff gets in the news and spread across the world before you know it. And they said they had a new album that was coming out, and that they were going to take it back to the 90s with the R&B feel, but it's going to be like a buffet because it's going to cover, you know, a whole lot of genres and time periods, and they're going to bring it up to 2018. And then they were talking about how they have their own tour buses because they have family and teams that's traveling with them. But I'm thinking that's probably not the reason. But anyway, they say they enjoy using the tour buses more than flying because I guess you can take more people with you. You have more of a support system with you, and they think that's great. And then I keep thinking that girl name is Tamika. It's the dark-skinned sister. Like one has blonde hair and one has black hair. Well, anyway, that one, she was telling the story about her and her husband had bought a sex swing, and that the thing said that it held up to 500 pounds. So I don't know what size her husband is, but they exceeded that 500 pounds because she said that the thing fell from the ceiling and broke, and she ended up at the hospital. And so they told the people in the emergency room that she fell down the steps. And so now they've told the truth on national television, so everybody knows that they were getting kinky. And so they seemed to be really bonding and said that they wouldn't change anything from the past because it helped them grow into the people that they are today. And then that was the interview. I think the interview lasted all of 3 minutes, and then they got them off the stage. And I can't remember what they talked about after that, because I think they started doing like some recipes or something, because you know they had a little silly skits on the reel at the end. But anyway, now you're all caught up with what was going on the blogs today. And you can leave your comments below if there's anything you want to add. Rate the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.